Have you ever finished a walk feeling proud of yourself, only to wake up later with a sharp leg cramp that steals your breath for a moment? Have you ever wondered why it happens on the days when you try to be the healthiest? A patient of mine once told me she felt betrayed by her own body because the more she walked, the worse her cramps became. She believed she was doing everything right, yet something wasn't adding up. Another patient shared that she stretched, stayed hydrated, and took her supplements faithfully. She walked every afternoon because her doctor told her it was good for her heart. But almost every night she woke up gripping her calf in pain. Nothing worked until we looked closely at one detail she never noticed: the way her foot touched the ground each time she took a step. I want you to imagine this for a moment. Picture yourself walking through your neighborhood, enjoying the fresh air, feeling your legs move with intention. Now imagine that with every step, your foot turns just a little too far inward or outward, or your stride becomes slightly too long, or your heel doesn't land the way it should. These tiny changes seem harmless, but they quietly pull on your calf muscles over and over until the muscle becomes tight, irritable, and oxygen poor. Hours later, when you are resting, that tension turns into a cramp. Most people assume leg cramps are caused only by dehydration or low magnesium. Very few realize the truth we see in the clinic every week. A single walking mistake can overload the calf so subtly that the cramp doesn't show up until bedtime. Walking is a beautiful combination of muscle coordination, nerve communication, and foot alignment. When even one part is off, the chain breaks. But here is the comforting truth. These cramps are not failures. They are signals. And the moment you understand the message, everything begins to change. In the next part, I will show you exactly what this walking mistake is, how to spot it, and how to correct it. Before we continue, if this video is helping you understand your health, please subscribe, like, and share Senior Health Daily so we can keep supporting you with trustworthy guidance. Why leg cramps become more common after 60. As we step into our 60s and beyond, something subtle begins to change in the way our bodies move. Many seniors tell me they feel fine during the day, but when they rise from a chair or take a longer walk, their legs feel different, maybe a little tighter, maybe a little slower, and those sensations, even the quiet ones, create the perfect storm for leg cramps later at night. Aging gently shifts our circulation. When we were younger, blood rushed easily from the heart to the calves and feet with every step. After 60, those vessels lose a bit of their elasticity. Blood doesn't move as quickly during moments of rest, and it becomes harder for the legs to flush out the tension that builds up from walking. Muscles that don't clear tension well are the muscles that cramp hours later. There is also the natural loss of elasticity inside the calf itself. Think of the calf muscle when you were 30. It was springy and forgiving. If you walked too long or too fast, it bounced back overnight. But as we age, the fibers stiffen. They become less adaptable. When that muscle is pulled even slightly the wrong way during a walk, it holds on to that tightness the rest of the day and into the night. That quiet stiffness is what becomes the cramp at 2 in the morning. Another piece of the puzzle is nerve sensitivity. Our nerves, especially the ones running down the lower back and into the legs, become more reactive with age. A small misalignment in the foot, a slightly rotated ankle, or a tiny inward collapse of the arch doesn't feel like much in the moment. But the nerve feels it, and once the nerve feels irritated, it stays alert long after you've stopped walking. When you go to sleep, the nerve is still on guard, and that's often when the cramp fires. We also naturally spend more time sitting as we get older. Long evenings in the recliner, quiet afternoons reading, or lingering at the dining table after meals. All of this encourages blood to pool in the lower legs. When that blood doesn't move well, the calves become less oxygenated. Muscles low on oxygen are muscles that cramp easily. On top of that, many seniors take medications that unintentionally raise the risk of cramps. Statins, diuretics, beta blockers, even certain antihistamines quietly irritate the muscle or drain essential minerals like magnesium or potassium. These medications help the heart, blood pressure, or cholesterol, but they sometimes leave the muscles more vulnerable. And this is where the walking mistake becomes especially important. When we were young, our bodies could tolerate small posture errors. A slightly turned foot didn't matter much at 25, but at 60 or 70, that same tiny misalignment can create a chain reaction. A rotated ankle leads to a shortened calf. A shortened calf leads to nerve tension. Nerve tension leads to a nighttime cramp. One of my patients, a bright and active 72-year-old woman named Marianne, walked several miles every day. But she walked with her ankles turned inward just a little, something she had done her entire life. For decades, her body compensated. But once she reached her early 70s, those small angles became significant. By evening, her calves felt tight, and by nighttime, she would be jolted awake by painful cramps. It wasn't until we examined her walking posture that the mystery finally made sense. She wasn't doing anything wrong on purpose. Her body simply needed a new kind of support for the stage of life she was in. And that is the heart of this conversation. Your body is not failing, it is adapting. And the moment you understand the small shifts happening beneath the surface, you gain the power to change them. In the next section, I'll show you the walking mistake most seniors never realize they're making, and how it gradually builds the tension that becomes a painful cramp later. The walking mistake most seniors don't notice. There is one walking mistake I see more often than any other in older adults, and most people have no idea they are doing it. It is so subtle that you would never notice it unless someone pointed it out. Yet it quietly loads the calf muscles step after step, day after day, until the tension finally erupts into a cramp later that evening or in the middle of the night. The mistake is an unnoticed shift in how the foot makes contact with the ground. For many seniors, the foot begins to roll inward more than it should, or the toes point outward with every step. These two movements, even when they happen just a little, create a twist through the lower leg. That twist may be small at first, but it is consistent. With every walk across the kitchen, every stroll through the grocery store, every lap around the block, the calf receives just a bit more strain than it was designed to handle. When the foot rolls inward too much, the arch collapses and the ankle rotates slightly. This rotation pulls on the calf in a way that stretches part of the muscle while tightening another part at the same time. Muscles don't like uneven pressure. They become irritated, fatigued, and starved of oxygen. Over time, that irritation settles deep into the tissue. On the other hand, when the toes turn outward as you walk, a different problem forms. The outer part of the leg works harder than it needs to. The inside of the calf does not fully engage. The muscle becomes unbalanced, and the nerve that runs along the back of the leg begins to feel overstimulated. During the day, you might only notice mild tightness or a slight ache, something easy to dismiss. But once you lie down to sleep and the circulation slows, the imbalance becomes far more noticeable, and that is often when the cramp strikes. Another version of this mistake happens when someone relies heavily on the toes while walking. Instead of letting the heel strike the ground first, the person shifts too quickly toward the front of the foot. This reduces the length of the stride and places constant tension on the calf. It is like the muscle is being asked to hold itself on a short leash all day long. By nighttime, after hours of this repeated motion, the calf reaches a point of fatigue where even a light stretch in bed can trigger a sudden, painful contraction. I once worked with a gentleman named Robert, who believed his cramps were caused by dehydration. He drank water all afternoon and took magnesium every evening. Yet the cramps continued. When we watched him walk, the answer became clear in less than a minute. His toes pointed outward just slightly, no more than a few degrees. He had walked like that his entire life. For decades, his body compensated. But once he crossed into his 70s, the mechanics shifted. His calves no longer recovered as quickly, and that small outward angle began to matter. Every step became a tiny tug on the muscle. By the time he lay down to sleep, his calves were exhausted. When he learned to adjust his foot position, even just a little, everything changed. He described his legs feeling lighter after only a week. Within a month, his nighttime cramps reduced dramatically. This is the power of awareness. A small change in how the foot meets the ground can create a large change in how the calf behaves later. And when you understand how this mistake forms, you begin to understand why cramps often strike long after the walk is over. How this mistake triggers leg cramps hours later. What surprises most seniors is that the cramp rarely happens during the walk itself. It appears hours later, often when they are resting on the couch or lying in bed preparing to sleep. This delay makes the true cause easy to miss, but the body is predictable. When a muscle has been overloaded in a very specific way, it tends to react once the activity stops. Imagine your calf muscle as a hard-working team of fibers that depend on oxygen, circulation, and rhythmic relaxation. When the foot rolls inward or turns outward with every step, those fibers do not move in harmony. Some of them stretch more than they should. Others tighten too quickly. This imbalance forces the muscle to work unevenly, and that uneven work slowly drains its energy reserves. The calf may not send any strong signals at first. It simply grows more tense, a tension many seniors ignore because it feels mild or familiar. Once you sit down after a long day, the circulation to your legs naturally slows. Blood flow becomes less forceful. Oxygen delivery decreases. A calf that was overloaded earlier suddenly receives even less support. The muscle becomes irritable. The nerves inside it become more reactive. It is as if the muscle is whispering that it has reached its limit. Then bedtime arrives. You lie down, the legs cool, the joints stiffen slightly, and the calf enters what I call a vulnerable window. This is when even the smallest movement can spark a cramp. Something as simple as stretching the toes, shifting your foot, or flexing the ankle can push the muscle over its threshold. That is why so many seniors report cramps happening when they yawn and stretch in bed, or when they first wake up and point their toes. There is also a deeper biological layer to this. When the calf remains shortened during walking because of poor foot mechanics, it loses its ability to fully relax later. A muscle that cannot lengthen completely becomes a muscle that reacts quickly, sometimes violently. Think of it like bending a metal coat hanger over and over. It tolerates the movement for a while, but eventually it reaches a breaking point. Your calf does the same thing. It absorbs the tension until one final movement makes it contract sharply. I recall a patient named Linda who walked every morning for heart health. She enjoyed her routine and never imagined it was connected to her nighttime cramps. But once we watched her walk, it was clear that her right foot turned outward just slightly more than her left. For years, her body compensated. But once she entered her 60s, the compensation became stress. By evening, her right calf was tight and sore, though she rarely noticed. At night, the cramp would strike like a lightning bolt. When she adjusted her walking posture, the change was almost immediate. Her nights grew quieter, calmer, less chaotic. This is the hidden truth about walking mistakes. They do not announce themselves loudly. They build slowly, quietly, step by step. And when the day ends and the body begins to rest, the accumulated tension finally reveals itself. Understanding this connection allows you to break the cycle, to give your calves what they need, and to finally take control of those sudden nighttime cramps. Shoes and surfaces that make it worse. Many seniors assume that cramps come from something happening inside their body, but they often forget how much the outside world shapes the way the legs feel. The shoes you wear and the surfaces you walk on quietly influence your posture, your stride, and the amount of tension placed on your calves. When those elements work against you, even the healthiest walking routine can turn into a series of small stressors that add up over time. Unsupportive shoes are one of the most common triggers. Soft, worn-out footwear that feels comfortable at first can actually collapse under the arch, forcing the foot to roll inward with every step. This rotation sends an extra pull up the calf muscle. By the time you sit down in the evening, the calf is already fatigued and lacking full circulation. Many seniors tell me they love their old slippers because they feel cozy, but those same slippers often allow the heel to wobble and the arch to sink, creating the perfect setup for a nighttime cramp. Walking on hard surfaces adds another layer of stress. Kitchen tile, hardwood floors, and concrete sidewalks offer no cushioning. Every step sends shock directly into the calves and Achilles tendon. Over the course of the day, the repeated impact tightens the calf muscle, even if you barely notice it. For seniors who spend hours cooking, cleaning, or walking indoors, this tightening builds quietly until nightfall, when the muscle finally releases its protest. Footwear without heel structure makes the problem even worse. Shoes that bend easily, slip-ons with no back support, or sandals with floppy soles force the calves to work overtime just to keep the foot stable. That extra effort may not hurt while walking, but it sets the stage for a sudden cramp hours later. One patient comes to mind. His name was Peter, a 73-year-old who loved his soft house slippers. He walked in them for years, believing they protected his feet. But every evening, his calves felt stiff, and at night, the cramps became unbearable. When he finally brought the slippers to my clinic, their shape told the entire story. The heel was worn to one side, the arch had collapsed, and the sole was so flexible that it offered no support. Once he switched to a pair of firmer indoor shoes with proper heel structure, the cramps that had bothered him for months almost disappeared. This is why shoes matter more than most people realize. Each time your foot hits the ground, your muscles adapt. If the shoe does not support the foot, the calf compensates. If the ground is too hard, the calf absorbs the impact. If the heel wobbles, the calf tightens to stabilize it. These small adjustments add up, and by nighttime, the muscle may be exhausted enough to misfire. Understanding how shoes and surfaces influence your calves gives you tremendous power. It means cramps are not just random. They are often the result of repeated patterns that your body has quietly endured for months or even years. When you choose supportive footwear and walk on forgiving surfaces, whenever possible, you give your calves a chance to stay relaxed throughout the day instead of reaching their breaking point at night. Other hidden walking habits that cause cramps. Even when seniors choose supportive shoes and walk on comfortable surfaces, certain walking habits still slip under the radar and place unnecessary strain on the calves. These habits are subtle. Most people do not even realize they are doing them. Yet over time, these small patterns can quietly overload the muscles and set the stage for nighttime cramps that feel unpredictable and frustrating. One of the most common habits is taking overly long strides. Many older adults try to walk faster or smoother by stretching the leg farther forward than the body can naturally support. When the stride becomes too long, the calf contracts more intensely with each push-off. It is a beautiful, powerful muscle, but it is not designed to handle exaggerated steps day after day. By evening, it becomes tight, under-oxygenated, and primed for cramps. Another overlooked habit is leaning slightly forward while walking. This may happen because of old back pain, poor posture, or even the desire to keep momentum. Leaning forward shifts weight onto the toes, forcing the calf to work much harder than it should. Seniors often tell me they didn't feel strain while walking, yet those same calves become tense and reactive once they sit down after dinner. That delayed tension is a classic setup for a nighttime spasm. Stiff knees are another hidden contributor. When the knees do not bend smoothly with each step, the legs lose their natural shock absorption. The calf then absorbs more impact than it was meant to handle. This happens quietly, and many seniors do not realize how stiff their knees have become until we observe their gait together. That extra shock travels directly to the calf, creating micro-fatigue that may only reveal itself during rest. Tight hips also play a bigger role than most people expect. When hip muscles lose flexibility, the leg rotates slightly outward or inward with every step. This rotation forces the calf to pull more heavily on one side. Over thousands of daily steps, that uneven tension becomes a powerful trigger for cramps later in the night. Some seniors assume the problem is solely in their calf, but the calf is often just reacting to poor alignment coming from higher up the leg. A poor heel-to-toe pattern is another quiet culprit. The body is designed to land gently on the heel and roll forward through the foot. When people skip that rolling motion and walk flat-footed or toe-first, the calf absorbs more strain than necessary. This pattern develops without intention and becomes more common with age as balance shifts. I once worked with a woman named Linda who walked 3 miles every morning for heart health. She believed her walking routine was perfect, yet her cramps grew worse each month. After watching her walk, it became clear that she took long strides and landed toe first. Her calf was doing double the work without her realizing it. By shortening her stride and practicing a smoother heel-to-toe roll, her cramps improved dramatically within 2 weeks. These tiny habits may seem harmless in isolation, but they accumulate throughout the day. Every step sends a message to the muscles, and the calves respond by tightening, stabilizing, and compensating. When these patterns continue for hours, the muscle stores tension that only reveals itself once the body is at rest. That is why so many seniors experience cramps at night, rather than during the walk itself. Understanding these hidden habits empowers you to walk more comfortably and prevent the cycle of quiet tension that leads to painful nighttime cramps. Even small changes in posture, stride, and alignment can transform how your calves feel at the end of the day. Circulation problems that are confused with walking issues. There is a moment in my conversations with patients when they lean forward and say, "But doctor, I walk every day. I stay active. Why do my cramps feel worse on some nights and completely unpredictable on others?" And that is when I gently explain that not every cramp comes from posture or movement. Sometimes the body sends deeper signals about circulation, and these signals can look almost identical to cramps caused by walking mistakes. As we age, the arteries in our legs naturally become less flexible. They do not open and close as easily as they once did, which slows the flow of blood down the calves. This reduced flow is subtle. Most seniors do not feel it during the day because walking actually helps push the blood downward and forward. But at night, when the legs are elevated and gravity is no longer helping, that reduced circulation becomes more noticeable. The calves get less oxygen. Less oxygen means more irritation. And that irritation becomes the spark that triggers a cramp. Some people experience cold feet at night and assume their home is just chilly. Others feel tingling or a light buzzing sensation and believe it is simply aging. But these sensations are often early circulatory clues. The body whispers long before it ever raises its voice. When seniors begin noticing these signs around bedtime or while resting, it is often because their blood vessels are not delivering nutrients as efficiently as before. There is also the issue of venous insufficiency, a condition where the veins struggle to return blood upward toward the heart. This is extremely common in older adults. After a long day of standing or sitting, the lower legs can hold extra fluid. That pressure builds quietly. By nighttime, when the muscles finally rest, the tension in the veins can irritate the surrounding nerves. The result is a cramp that feels sharp, sudden, or deep inside the calf. Many seniors misinterpret this as a walking problem, but the root cause lies in circulation. I remember one gentleman who walked 2 miles every afternoon and proudly told me he was doing everything right. Yet he woke up almost every night with painful spasms. When I examined him, his feet were cool, his calves were slightly swollen, and his pulses were soft. His cramps were not from walking errors. They were from early vascular changes that only made themselves known when his legs were still. These circulation-related cramps are especially sneaky because they happen during rest. During movement, blood flow increases, but once you sit down after dinner or drift off to sleep, that helpful circulation slows, and the underlying issue is revealed. The muscles become starved for oxygen, and the nerves grow hyperreactive. That is why people often feel a sudden tightening or stabbing sensation, right as they are drifting into sleep. When circulation is involved, the cramps may also linger longer. A walking-related cramp might release in seconds, but circulatory cramps often leave a soreness that lasts into the morning. Some seniors notice that rubbing the area helps only a little. Warmth helps some, but not all. The pattern feels inconsistent. That inconsistency is actually a clue. Understanding whether circulation plays a role is incredibly empowering because it gives you a clearer direction. And while poor blood flow sounds frightening, many early circulation problems can be managed with simple lifestyle changes, hydration, gentle warm-ups, and better walking mechanics. The key is recognizing when the body is asking for help beyond posture and stride. Nerve triggers that intensify the problem. There is another layer to leg cramps that often surprises people, and it has nothing to do with muscles or circulation at all. It begins with the nerves. As we age, the nerves in the legs and lower back become more sensitive. They fire more quickly, they react to smaller changes, and sometimes they even misfire when the body is completely still. Many seniors believe their cramps are caused by tight calves alone, but nerve irritation can play just as powerful a role. Some of my patients experience cramps that start in the middle of their calf and shoot downward like a lightning bolt. Others describe a sudden hard knot that forms right after they stretch their toes. These types of cramps often have a strong nerve component, especially when the lower back is involved. A pinched nerve from long-term posture changes, arthritis, or even a slightly misaligned vertebra can send a sharp signal down the leg. That signal forces the muscle to contract intensely, even if the calf itself was perfectly relaxed a moment earlier. Sciatica is one of the most common triggers I see. It begins in the lower back, travels through the hip, and wraps around the calf. When the sciatic nerve becomes irritated, the muscles along its path can spasm without warning. People often assume that the walking earlier in the day caused the pain, but in reality, the nerve was already irritated long before the walk. The movement only amplified what was already brewing. Foot posture during walking also influences nerve behavior. When the foot rolls inward or outward, even by an inch, the tibial nerve can become compressed as it passes behind the ankle. This compression creates a deep, uncomfortable tension that lingers and grows more pronounced once the person lies down for the night. If the nerves are on edge, even a slight stretch under the blanket can ignite a cramp. There is a woman I remember well. She was active, sharp, and determined not to let aging slow her down. Yet she was waking up every morning with calf pain so sharp it brought tears to her eyes. For months she believed it was tight muscles, but when we gently examined her lower back, we found a small area of nerve irritation. With simple posture adjustments and a few strengthening routines, her cramps almost disappeared within weeks. Her relief was incredible because she realized the problem was not weakness. It was sensitivity. When nerves are irritated, they send louder and more frequent messages. They call for space, for gentler movement, and for better alignment. They demand attention, and once you understand that these nighttime cramps can be the nerve's way of asking for help, you begin to approach your body with more patience and compassion. This is the heart of healing, recognizing that your body is not failing you. It is speaking to you, and once you know how to listen, the message becomes much clearer. How to test your whole walking posture at home. One of the most empowering things you can do for your body is to understand how it moves. Many seniors assume they walk normally because walking feels automatic. Yet when I watch patients in my clinic, even the smallest shift in the foot or ankle can reveal why their calves tighten so much. The good news is that you can uncover these clues yourself with a few simple at-home tests. Start by paying attention to how your foot meets the ground. Stand barefoot in a quiet room and take a few slow steps forward. Notice the moment your heel lands. Do you land squarely on the center of your heel, or does the foot roll inward or outward? Sometimes people are surprised to see their ankle collapsing inward slightly, or their toes turning outward more than they realized. These tiny angles, repeated thousands of times each week, can place steady pressure on the calf muscle and set the stage for cramps later in the night. A mirror is one of the best teachers you can have. Place it in front of you and watch your stride at a natural pace. Look at where your toes are pointing. If they angle outward, even a little, that rotation increases the workload on the calves. If they angle too far inward, the arch flattens and the calf again takes on more strain. The mirror helps you see what you feel, but do not always notice. Your shoes offer another powerful clue. Turn them over and inspect the soles. Look at the areas that are most worn down. If the inside edge is thinner than the rest, your foot is rolling inward. If the outer edge is worn, you are likely walking with your toes turned out. I've had patients who were shocked to discover that their shoe wear pattern explained their cramps better than any blood test ever could. A wall test is also wonderfully simple. Stand with your back against the wall, heels touching it lightly. Relax your shoulders. Let your arms fall naturally. Then look down at your feet. They should be parallel, pointing straight ahead like the number 11. If they are angled apart or drifting inward, that tells you your natural standing posture may be contributing to the tension in your calves during walking. These small assessments are not meant to judge your body. They are meant to help you understand it. Your posture holds a story. Your shoes hold a story. Your stride holds a story. And once you begin to read those stories, you gain the ability to correct the patterns that have been silently exhausting your muscles. Learning how you walk is not about perfection. It is about awareness. Awareness gives you control, and control gives you relief. When you understand your body's movements clearly, you can begin to walk in a way that supports your calves rather than strains them. And that awareness becomes the first step toward nights that are finally free from the cramps that have been stealing your rest. How to correct the walking mistake. Once you understand what your feet are doing, the next step is learning how to guide them into a healthier, more supportive pattern. The goal is not to walk like an athlete or force your body into rigid perfection. The goal is to help your calves breathe, relax, and move with ease so they no longer carry unnecessary tension into the evening. Start with your stride length. Many seniors unknowingly take long steps, thinking it makes walking more effective. In reality, long strides pull the calf muscles tight with every step. When the leg reaches too far ahead of the body, the calf must work harder to stabilize the ankle, and that extra workload accumulates throughout the day. Shortening your steps just a little keeps your muscles in a safer, more relaxed range and reduces the microstrain that leads to nighttime cramps. Pay close attention to where your foot lands. Aim for a neutral placement where your toes point forward instead of outward or inward. When the foot angles outward, the calf is forced into a twisting motion that creates tension. When the foot angles inward, the arch collapses and drags the calf into a constant stretch. Walking with your toes aligned forward feels calmer on the lower legs and restores balance to your stride. A smooth heel strike helps as well. Let your heel touch the ground lightly before the rest of your foot rolls forward. This simple motion distributes force evenly and prevents the calf from tightening too soon in the step. Many seniors who skip this movement and land flat-footed end up overworking the muscles without realizing it. Practicing a gentle heel-to-toe pattern encourages the calf to work in harmony with the rest of the leg, rather than fighting against it. Strengthening the small muscles in the arch also makes a remarkable difference. These muscles act like the foundation of a house. When they are weak, the ankle wobbles, the calf compensates, and the tension builds with every walk. Simple exercises like lifting the arch while keeping the toes on the floor, or gently curling a towel with the toes help restore stability. When the foot is stronger, the calf is safer. Calf stretching is the finishing touch. A relaxed calf is far less likely to spasm later in the night. Taking 20 to 30 seconds to lean gently into a wall and feel the stretch along the back of the leg can release tension built up during the day. This small habit reduces the chance that the muscle will enter that pre-cramp state when you finally lie down to rest. Correcting your walking pattern is not about changing everything at once. It is about choosing small, kind adjustments that gradually shift the burden off your calves. Many patients tell me they feel the difference within days. Their steps feel lighter. Their legs feel more awake. Their nights feel calmer. These changes remind you that your body is not working against you. It is waiting for clear, gentle guidance. When you offer that guidance, it responds with relief. Daily habits that prevent walking-related cramps. When it comes to preventing leg cramps that begin with walking mistakes, your everyday habits matter just as much as the steps you take outside. The body is always responding to the signals you give it, and the way you care for your legs throughout the day can either prepare them for a peaceful night or leave them vulnerable to tension and fatigue. One of the simplest places to begin is with heat. After a long walk or an active day, a warm foot bath can soothe tired muscles and improve circulation. Warmth encourages the vessels in your legs to open, allowing oxygen and nutrients to move freely into the muscles that have been working hard. Many seniors tell me that even a few minutes of warm water helps their calves soften and let go of the tightness they did not realize they were carrying. Nutrition plays a gentle but important role as well. When your body lacks minerals like magnesium or potassium, your muscles struggle to stay relaxed. Choosing foods that nourish your muscles, such as leafy greens, nuts, avocado, or banana, supports the natural balance your legs need. This is not about supplements or strict diets. It is about feeding your body with the quiet, reliable ingredients it recognizes and relies on. Hydration is another key piece of the puzzle. Muscles that are slightly dehydrated lose efficiency and become more reactive. Drinking water consistently throughout the day keeps the body ready for movement and reduces the risk of evening cramps. What matters most is maintaining hydration earlier rather than waiting until bedtime, when too much fluid can disrupt sleep. Footwear is something people underestimate until they feel the difference. Shoes that support the arch and stabilize the ankle help prevent the chain reaction that leads from walking mistakes to nighttime cramps. Many seniors spend hours at home in thin slippers or socks on hard floors, which allows the foot to collapse inward and forces the calf to tighten. Choosing supportive footwear, even indoors, protects the muscles from unnecessary strain. Some people benefit from a simple nightly routine that signals the body to relax. Gentle stretching before bed helps calm the nervous system and releases leftover tension from the day. Even a slow, steady breath while leaning into a calf stretch can remind the body that it is safe to rest. When you give your muscles this small moment of attention, they are less likely to rebel during the night. The beauty of these habits is that they do not require dramatic effort. They are small shifts that work together, each one supporting the next. A warm foot soak softens the muscles. Nutrient-rich foods replenish them. Good hydration prepares them. Strong footwear protects them. A gentle stretch eases them into the night. When combined, these habits create a powerful foundation that reduces the risk of walking-related leg cramps. Your body is always communicating, and when you respond with simple daily care, it rewards you with comfort, ease, and more restful sleep, bringing it all together. As we arrive at the heart of this journey, I want you to pause for a moment and think about everything your legs have carried you through. Every step, every mile, every celebration, every challenge. The truth is that leg cramps are not a sign that your body is failing you. They are signals. They are little messages that something in the way you move, the way you walk, or the way you prepare for rest needs gentle attention. Throughout this conversation, you have seen how a simple walking mistake can quietly place too much pressure on the calf muscles. You have also learned how shoes, surfaces, circulation, nerves, posture, and daily habits all influence those same muscles. None of these factors are dramatic on their own, but together they shape how your legs feel at the end of the day. The beautiful part is that every one of these causes is something you can improve. Many seniors believe that cramps happen because they are getting older or because their bodies are simply wearing out. But what you now understand is that age is only one piece of the story. Awareness, posture, alignment, hydration, and supportive habits play a far larger role. When you take a moment to adjust the angle of your foot, choose a shoe that supports you, shorten your stride, nourish your muscles, or rest them with warmth, you are giving your legs the conditions they need to stay calm through the night. I have seen countless older adults transform their evenings simply by understanding the root of their discomfort. Relief came not from complicated treatments, but from small changes made with intention and patience. That is the power you hold. You are not helpless. You are not destined to live with nightly pain. You have the ability to shape your body's experience in ways that are gentle, meaningful, and completely within reach. Remember that your legs are not working against you. They are working for you. They are asking for balance, support, and understanding. When you listen to those messages early, before the pain arrives, you reclaim control over your comfort and your sleep. Your health is a lifelong relationship. Treat it with patience, curiosity, and love. As we close this conversation together, I want you to take a gentle breath and acknowledge something important. Your leg cramps are not signs that your body is breaking down. They are signals, quiet messages, invitations to pay attention in a kinder, more understanding way. Your body is not your enemy, it is your partner. And it has been with you through every season of your life. Think about what your legs have done for you. They carried you through childhood adventures, the long hours of work, the heavy moments of grief, and the bright moments of joy. They supported you as you raised families, built careers, and grew into the strong, resilient person you are today. Those legs deserve compassion, not frustration. Patience, not blame. They have earned your gratitude. The walking mistake we explored is not a judgment. It is simply a reminder that even small habits shape how your muscles behave. The good news is that small habits can be changed. When you adjust your stride, choose shoes that support you, or become more aware of how your feet land on the ground, you give your body the same care it has given you for decades. These shifts may feel simple, but they have the power to transform your nights and restore your confidence. And I want you to know this deeply. It is never too late. Whether you are in your 60s, 70s, 80s, or beyond, your body can still learn, adapt, and heal. Comfort is not behind you. It is still ahead of you. Your health is a lifelong relationship. Treat it with patience, curiosity, and love. And if today's conversation helped you feel more hopeful and more in control, I invite you to subscribe, like, and share Senior Health Daily so we can continue walking this journey together. You deserve support, understanding, and a community that cares for your well-being.